Hello everybody, my name is Cain Carías and I'm a puppeteer. And this is my little friend, El Triste. I've been a puppeteer for close to 18 years now. I actually started around Halloween, which is this month, October, and you know what, I don't really remember which day it was because I just remember seeing like a Halloween show when I first saw like a puppet show before myself, and yeah, it was just something that, you know what, like a friend told me just out of high school, was like, hey, you wanna work in a theater? In my mind, I thought it was a movie theater, so I just constantly just say yes, you know, I wanna work in a theater. In my mind, I was like, I'm gonna be looking at free movies and things like that. Once I saw a show, like a puppet show, I was like kind of blown away because I never seen stuff like that before myself, and it just Hello everybody, my name is Cain Carías and I'm a puppeteer. And this is my little friend, El Triste. I've been a puppeteer for close to 18 years now. I actually started around Halloween, which is this month, October, and you know what, I don't really remember which day it was because I just remember seeing like a Halloween show when I first saw like a puppet show before myself, and yeah, it was just something that, you know what, like a friend told me just out of high school, was like, hey, you wanna work in a theater? In my mind, I thought it was a movie theater, so I just constantly just say yes, you know, I wanna work in a theater. In my mind, I was like, I'm gonna be looking at free movies and things like that. Once I saw a show, like a puppet show, I was like kind of blown away because I never seen stuff like that before myself, and it just really captivated me that it kind of encouraged me to do that myself. And I kind of spent like 5 years doing like the lighting effects. Because when you do a show, they usually goes by moods. So when I say by moods, eventually it goes into a desert scene, it goes to like a snowing scene. So I will pull out the lights when it comes to the shows when I used to do that. And after a while, when it comes to me experiencing 5 years of doing the whole lighting effects, I kind of jump into puppetry, which is grabbing a puppet and doing actually shows. So, you know, I've been a puppet, like, you know, like 5 years, I had like experience of watching it, which I spent like so much time. And after that, like the whole, what is it, like 5 years, 13 years of me actually like, you know, puppeteering puppets. That's how much I've been doing this. And, you know, I never look it back as something that I don't want to do no more, because eventually puppeteering is kind of like something that is really timeless, because eventually it's been around way, even before the pyramids were built, because eventually this is like a form of people, you know, communicating with other people eventually when they can't speak their language, or just some type of gestures that people do when it comes to puppeteering. They just brings to life to the whole different mood. And this is what I love about puppeteering, because it just gives you this freedom of speech that you won't be able to speak it in your mouth, but you could speak it by translating all these feelings into the puppet, which is really amazing. But yeah, my first job was actually at the Bob Baker Marionette Theater, which was located right here in Echo Park, close to downtown. And yeah, it was, you know, at the beginning times, eventually, because I'm from Tijuana, Mexico, I came to Los Angeles when I was 13 years old, and, you know, was actually my first job as a volunteering, you know, when I started there. And I didn't really speak English at the time. It was really difficult for me to even enjoy like the shows when it comes to things like that. But little by little, you know, I started learning the English. I went to school and things like that, and I was be able to, like, you know, understand the songs, understand what kind of was transferring the feelings into like these puppets and things like that. But you know what, when it came to me training with Bob, it was really difficult, you know, because I mean, I didn't speak that language, and of course he didn't speak Spanish, so it was kind of a little kind of like a sign language type of vibe, you know. Like I would kind of always mimic him, you know, like I would kind of like trying to put myself in his shoes. Whatever he would do, I would do it myself. So he would grab, like, imagine he would grab El Triste and he would do all these certain moves, and I would just be looking at him, so seeing all his gestures that he would do with his hands, and he would give me the puppet and I would try to do the same thing that he was doing. That's the way that I kind of learned. He was never there to be like, oh, so grab this stick and move it back and forth like this, and that's how you make it work. I didn't have that experience myself. I was always kind of like, oh, this is the way you do it. And I actually learned I learned like that. That's the way the Bob Baker taught me how to do some of these puppets. And of course, over the years and over so much time that I spent there, I got to learn the language. And at the end, the end years, I was able to express my feelings, towards him, be able to have discussions, and have a fluent conversations with him. And it was really unique at the beginning, but after a while we kind of became best friends, and he practically taught me everything that he knows. And there's so much stuff that he built that, of course, he didn't have time to teach me. And it's kind of like, when it comes to puppeteering, it's hard to give a stop from practicing. There's always gonna be a new puppet that is gonna give you a challenge to do new things. And puppeteering is like non-stop learning. Even though I know so much, and of course Bob Baker taught me everything that he knew, but there's still so many other puppets that he didn't taught me, and I'm trying to find my way to learn how to do them. And it was really cool when it came to that, trying to experience like a brand new puppet, and get like the fear of grabbing it and be able to move it, and be able to come alive the way he was meant to be. And it was really great. A super amazing experience. And I used to perform every day except Mondays. We used to perform for schools, to like colleges, to universities. We used to perform for kids of all ages. If you think of that, we used to have babies crying in their shows. They would just bring them for them to get the experience of the lighting effects, the musical, the music, the vibes. Eventually, that's what brings the memories, those feelings that you felt before. So eventually, when people came into the theater back in the days, because the theater was opened in 1963, that's when the theater originally opened. And Bob was doing shows way before he opened his theater. So, I mean, he already had like a band phase before he opened the theater. So once he opened the theater, people were just storming in, trying to see a professional show, like with lighting effects and, big drops and things like that, which is really amazing. The sceneries that Bob had in his imagination, it was really amazing, because eventually, one guy couldn't build like almost 3,000 marionettes. He had like a whole lot of help, and eventually he was the main guy that would be like, oh, I'm thinking of making El Triste. All right, you make the head, you make the feet. And of course, there was like a whole group involved in creations of Bob Baker marionettes, but everything was built under his image and his ideas, and which is really great. And this is what I love about Bob Baker, because he followed his dreams his whole life practically, because he was doing puppets since he was 8 years old. So, he passed away in his 90s. So you could picture like 80 plus years of doing what you love. I mean, that's amazing. And I kind of started 13 years, so you can say a little later. But I'm still doing what he taught me to do, which is puppeteering. And I'm gonna continue doing this my whole life. I don't think I'll ever stop doing this. And I actually tattooed my hands with the control bars that the puppets I manipulate the puppets with, and I kind of put his name right here, Bob Baker. This is actually a unique control to him, because this is the way that you manipulate the puppets with. So every time you move this like controls like this back and forth, this is how you will make him walk, talk, or blink his eyes and things like that, just by doing certain moves and certain gestures and things like that. And I just did it as a memorial for him and put his name, because I want to be reminded of what I became now, because this is what I am now. And I'm a puppeteer. I kind of gave myself the Puppet Master name. It's kind of like some songs that I usually listen to, and they had that little theme of puppets and things like that, which I kind of applied to myself a little bit and gave myself that Puppet Master 213 name, which is, the 213 is the area code of Los Angeles where I live. And it just kind of like, just went from there, I've been doing so much that, it's so great that, get the spotlight once more, because people knows about me when it came into the theater, because I used to work there. I no longer work at the theater no more, because I'm kind of doing some other things, kind of pursuing my some of my other goals when it comes to puppeteering. Because when it comes to puppeteering, when I learned in the theater, I kind of learned everything backwards. I started learning how to manipulate them, how to fix them, how to even build them, but I didn't know the beginning process of a puppet. Eventually, when you want to build a puppet, you have to draw it first. You have to draw it, visualize it in a drawing. once you draw it, you're gonna start measuring it from there, you know, build it from there. Of course, you got sketches and things like that, but I didn't have that. I didn't have that experience. I don't know how to draw and things like that. That's where I'm going into, like a drawing school, eventually to go into like the digital world, because right now it's everything digital, you know, get like a drawing concept and build puppets from there. Because what I want to do is build puppets, but I could tell you right now, oh, I want to build like a whole show and tell you all these things that I want to build, but what you want to see is concepts. You know, I want to give you drawings of puppets that I want to build and just go from there. Instead of me telling you, I want to show you and continue you know, doing puppeteering, because eventually what I want to do, my vision is to do shows in Spanish, because my fluent language is in Espanol. So what I want to do is shows in Spanish, because everything that I have done over the years has been kind of like an Spanglish kind of deal or fully English. So right now I want to do like a full-on Spanish shows, just, you know, teaching people about puppeteering and show them what, you know, this whole art is about, because puppeteering, I mean, puppetry is really amazing, and you'll be, you know, like impressed of what these puppets could do, and you just gotta try it. So, you know, after spending so much time of doing puppets, you know, and things like that, when it came to building a puppet, it's actually really, really expensive. It might not look expensive, but it goes into like a really high price, and eventually every puppet that Bob Baker built, it goes up to like $2,000 plus, $2,000 plus, you know, every puppet that Bob built, because he's so much professional wise when it comes to the clothing wise and things like that. I actually prefer, I don't have $2,000 when it comes to things like that. So I found this lady that does particularly these dolls. It's kind of, because I'm obsessed with clowns when it comes to myself. I love clowns. When I was a kid, and since I've been growing up, I always loved clowns. And I found this particular artist that used to make these dolls look like clowns. So you know what, I kind of contacted her, and I was like, you know, we should do like collaboration by adding your doll and put some strings in it. You know, add both of our arts, combine it, and build something that people never seen before. Even though I work in that field, I've seen it myself, but other people haven't seen stuff like this. And you know, we did a collaboration, and El Triste came out of it. He looked a little different before. Right now, because he kind of been growing a lot, he kind of changed over the years, because I've been having him for 3 years. And over those 3 years, he kind of actually grew a little bit. He kind of became taller, became a little bigger, like, you know, body-wise, because when it comes to a marionette, you never change them. Once you build it, it stays like that forever, even with the same clothes and the same height. You probably fix little minor, you know, damages that he might have over the years, but it never changes. This guy actually grew. People that knows El Triste knows that he actually growing into, I don't know, like into a real boy, you could say. This is kind of a little funny to myself, because, you know, of course, the movie Pinocchio, but when it comes to this guy, he actually growing when it comes to like how kind of he impacted the world right here in Los Angeles, because he's mostly original from right here. And I named him the saddest clown of Los Angeles, because I built him based on my feelings. Because I'm always happy, I'm always smiling, I've always been around smiles, I'm always been around like building puppets and making shows and things like that. So always been around smiles. So I kind of created something that I've hardly ever been, which is sadness. So when it became to that, I built him as a sad clown, because I kind of feel like he takes my sadness away. Every time I feel down, or I kind of feel some type of loneliness or sadness, I kind of feel, I think of El Triste, and it's just, oh, you know, that's cool. Like, I just think of him, and it just kind of brightens my light up again. And I don't know, I just can't really explain that feeling, because eventually, you know, I'm the owner of him, and I get to, not saying play with him, but manipulate him. Eventually, he actually working now, because people hire him to do like music videos and be in his own movie. He actually has his own movie coming out, which I'm like still like in shock that I can't believe people who actually relate into this, you know, creation that two people created, and it just impacting Los Angeles in a big way that is, you know, like I say, he's getting me jobs, which is, I'm like, you know, like impressed myself. Like, you know, people usually have, when it comes to puppeteering, they have like 20 puppets, you know, because I mean, I'm a puppeteer, I should be having like 20 puppets myself and do full-on shows, but I only have 2. I only have El Triste and his girlfriend, which is La Smiley. She kind of had to stay home, you know, take care of the house and things like that, so she couldn't really, visit us here today, because it's like a boys thing today. but yeah, like, Triste became really like a big star over here, which I'm just kind of like, I'm trying to keep up with his thing, because he's getting requests left and right, and sometimes I even forget myself, like I'm doing something and they just call me like, hey, you bringing El Triste? I'm like, oh yeah, and I have to cancel something else because I gotta do, but yeah, El Triste is all over the place, which is really amazing, and I'm just really happy, because eventually this is what I like doing, and most of it I like showing it off, because eventually I want people to know what a puppet is, and I just say puppet like in general, because he's not a puppet, he's actually a marionette. Marionette and a puppet is two different things. So a puppet could be your hand. This could be a puppet. You put a sock or something, start animating, or like a shadow puppet, you put a light over your hand and start doing like all these type of shadows in the wall. That's called a puppet. This one is a marionette because it has strings. You see those strings? Every puppet that has a string it turns into a marionette, which that's what he is. And before he was a marionette, he was a G doll. That's the brand that this guy came from. He was a G doll, but now he's a marionette. He's a G marionette. So if you know what a G is, you should know what's going on with El Triste. So yeah, my next project, I get involved in a lot of little projects, events that I usually hang out with. Well, like I said, El Triste is more like a friend, he's more like a homie, just like a friend that you just hang out, vibe with. He's not really a performer because I didn't build him like that, I kind of build him as a display. But he always gets invited to do shows somehow. So when it comes to doing shows, I usually go into an event and I walk around with him, show him off, say hi to the people and things like that. So they always have events like when it comes to things like that. The next event is gonna be October 30th. It's actually gonna be right here in Echo Park, and it's gonna be the guy that invited me. He's called Suitcase Joe. Suitcase Joe is an amazing person and a photographer. He takes pictures mostly of Skid Row. He takes pictures of all the people in Skid Row, and he will write the story of the person he takes pictures of. So you could already imagine all these amazing stories and pictures that he takes of the people in there. And he's having an art gallery this month, and he invited me and he invited El Triste. So it's gonna be a really amazing experience to bring El Triste into a whole kind of theme like that. And of course, we are around Halloween, and who doesn't love a clown, So he's gonna be really welcome. It's gonna be super cool. What inspires me in life? Actually a really tough question right there. Because eventually, the way that I kind of grew up is kind of hard to even visualize that, because eventually, I grew up in the neighborhood and things like that. So when it comes to inspiration, it will have to come into puppeteering, Every puppeteering, it gives you like so much leverage to do anything you want particularly. Trust me, when it comes to puppeteering, you could do anything you want. And you could make a puppet like this, make them do whatever you like. You could buy them a little car, you could buy them a bicycle and anything. So inspiration for me will be puppeteering, because eventually this is what I have in my hands, and I'm never gonna forget where I come from and things like that. So this inspires me to continue doing what I love, which is puppeteering, because even though I work in the kitchen, I'm actually a cook. I work in the kitchen, that doesn't mean that I'm gonna be a cook or nothing like that. It just, every time I work with my hands, it inspires me and reminds me of what I'm gonna be doing in the future. And trust me, if you see me 10 years from now, you're gonna see me and El Triste still doing our thing. So it's gonna be fun. Puppeteering, I really encourage you guys to try it.